So you pull a line and it looks pretty good, but when you wipe off, it looks weak and pitted. Then it goes from bad to worse when it's fully healed, and some places fall out altogether. Well, in this video, I'm going to be covering 8 top reasons why this happens, so you can pull nice, strong, saturated lines. Hey everyone, welcome to this video, and today we're going to be covering the top common mistakes made when pulling lines, and also some less common mistakes which you may or may not know about. And you can use this video as a point of reference in the future if you're struggling to pull lines. And at the end of this video, we're going to put everything that we've learned into a demonstration and actually pull some lines on the skin. Now, I strongly recommend that you don't skip any part of this video, because like all my videos, the information builds on the previous chapter, so if you do skip, it might not make a lot of sense. So stick 10 minutes aside and watch it in its entirety to get the most out of it. With all that said, guys, let's not waste any more time and get straight into it. The reason professional artists use professional equipment is purely down to the fact it makes the job much easier to perform, and it also gives a better result when used with the correct techniques. This is applicable across the board, whether it's a quality machine, power supply, inks and needles. A poor quality machine will run inconsistent, which will have fluctuations in speed, which will in turn have a direct impact on the quality line that you pull. Again, a low quality power supply will also have a direct impact on the consistency of the speed of your machine, causing it to run at irregular speeds and in some cases not provide enough power to even make the needle hit the skin hard enough. Low quality needles are also a massive contributor to poor quality lines. The difference between using a budget needle and a professional quality one is massive. Cheap cartridges tend to house the needles in loose fitting tips, which can cause the needle to wobble as well as create ink splatter, and can be a nightmare when you need absolute precision. Quality ink is one of the most important pieces of equipment. A cloned or cheap unbranded ink not only will create a poor quality line, but can actually be a health hazard. I've covered this topic in depth in another video, and at the end of this video I'll stick a card up linking you to a playlist where you can find all these videos. The stretch is often overlooked by beginners, yet it's one of the most crucial aspects of pulling strong lines. When the skin isn't stretched correctly, it becomes loose, and instead of the needle penetrating it, it can actually bounce off the skin, resulting in poor quality lines. Again, this has been covered massively in depth in another video, and the link to this video will be at the end of this one. The average needle depth you should be aiming for is 2mm. This ensures the ink sits in the dermis layer of the skin. Too shallow and it goes into the upper layer, the epidermis, and this is where the ink will look pitted, patchy, and sometimes even fall out when it's fully healed. Too deep and it goes into the hypodermis layer, which will result in what's referred to as a blowout. These 2 blowout videos cover everything you need to know about blowouts and will also be added to the playlist at the end of this video. Correct needle configuration is a topic which can often be overlooked. Sometimes something as simple as not choosing the right needles for the right job can massively affect the quality of your line. For example, if you were tattooing quite a thick line traditional design, you wouldn't use something small like a 5-round liner. You'd probably opt for something more like a 14-round liner. Likewise, if you were tattooing delicate, intricate script, you wouldn't go for a big needle grouping like a 14-round liner, but might opt for something like a 3-round liner to get in all those tight areas. Again, this subject is covered massively in depth and will also be added to the playlist at the end of this video. I talk about this subject lots in my videos, and it's so important to have your hand speed and your machine speed in sync with each other. If they're not, you're either going to chew up the skin or pull a very weak looking line. Again, this is a massive subject covered, and I've done a video covering everything you need to know on it, and it will be added to the playlist at the end of this video. But as a very rough guide, for lining, you want to be setting your machine at around about 120 to 130 cycles per second, depending on your hand speed. Correctly tuned machine only really applies to people using coil machines, as you don't really tune rotaries and pen style machines. But if you are using a coil machine, it's super important to correctly tune your machine. If you look at it like it's a guitar and it's not tuned, it can be the most expensive guitar in the world, but it will still sound terrible if it's not in tune. A coil machine is no different. If it's not tuned correctly, it's not going to do a good job. Now let's see what happens when we switch the guitar for the exact same one, but this time it's tuned. We're able to get the guitar to perform well. This is exactly the same with a coil machine. When a coil machine is tuned up and it's running at the right cycles per second for the right job, and the power is set correctly for the hit and the bog, this will give you a machine, when paired up with the right techniques, that will give you amazing results on the skin. Again, this subject is covered massively in depth and will be added to the playlist at the end of this video. If the needle is entering the skin at an obscure angle, then it can actually slice the skin instead of placing the ink in it. This subject is widely divided as to what the actual angle should be, but in short, and in my opinion, the needle should enter the skin to as close to as 90 degrees as you can possibly make it, and never exceed more than 45 degrees, as this runs a real risk of slicing the skin. Correctly loaded ink. This is a topic which is hardly ever spoken about but is essential to get right. Correctly loaded ink referring to how much ink is actually left in the tip. Another oversight beginners make is they don't make enough trips back to the ink pot and end up essentially running the tip dry into the skin without ever even realising it. It comes with practice and experience knowing exactly when to reload the tip with ink, but basically, if the line starts to become weak when it wasn't before, then you probably need to dip into the ink cap again to draw more ink into the tip. If you're getting too much ink splatter onto the skin, there's a high chance that you're running the machine in the ink pot, drawing too much ink into the tip. My advice for beginners, if you're loading ink for lining, is to dip the tip into the ink pot without the machine running, then remove the tip and give the machine a quick blast of power to load the tip. This should be a sufficient amount of ink to pull a line. So in this next section coming up, we're going to put into practice everything that we've learnt today by tattooing some lines on human skin. Just before we get into this, I'm going to put a card up on the screen. If you click on this, it will take you to a playlist at the end of this video, which will contain all the videos which we've mentioned in this video today. So if you've not seen any of them already, and you want to go more in depth on each individual subject, then feel free to check those out at the end of this video. So here we go guys, this is just a little Pokemon tattoo which I did on a foot. I'm just going to get some close-ups there for you so you can see me putting all the elements which were spoken about in this video today together. Just maintaining a nice consistent speed there, nice and smooth, pulling those lines. My machine is running at around about 120 cycles per second in this video. I'm using an 11 round liner to do this design. And if you can see just how clean my workspace is, which is a really good idea for any tattoo that you do. I always try to have the area as clean as possible, and by that I mean not smudging ink all over your design. What we spoke about in the video, not overloading your tip so you're getting ink splatter everywhere, because when that happens it just makes the tattoo just a little bit harder to complete if you start getting ink all over your stencil and you can't see what you're doing. And if you notice, I'm always dabbing rather than wiping when I get rid of the excessive ink on the surface, and this just ensures that I'm not going to wipe off my stencil. I'll probably put a time lapse of this tattoo being performed start to finish, but for the purpose of this video we just needed to look at the line work on it.
Thank you so much for watching this video guys, and if you did take anything from this video at all, take a second out right now, smash that like button, let me know that you've liked it, feel free to drop your comments in the box below, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, it's really important to check that notification bell to stay up to date with all my latest uploads. With all that said guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
such an asshole.